Hello, and welcome to Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita, Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show tonight. I just really appreciate all of you that, come here in your free time and decide to spend it with me. It is just such a blessing to get to hang out with you and visit. So we're going to have an interesting topic tonight, and I've kind of brought this up in some of my other opening monologues and have said, well, I should talk about this, but I haven't ever. And so tonight we're going to talk about intrusive thoughts. And so you might be going, well, what's an intrusive thought? And an intrusive thought is a thought that gets stuck in your mind and you just can't get rid of it. So think of those times where you have jingle bells or some song stuck in your head and you're like, oh my God, I keep thinking about this song, and you try to think of something else. And, 5 seconds later, you're back to thinking of that song and singing it in your head. And it just kind of keeps going around that chorus over and over and over again. So finally, you're able to get rid of it. I don't really know what the secret of getting rid of the song thing. I've never tried using my tools, my mindfulness tools to deal with that. But if I have that situation happen to me, I think I'm going to try it and share the results with you guys. But we all have intrusive thoughts at one point in time or another. And they're really not an issue if it's one point in time or another. There's something going on in our lives and we're having a hard time dealing with it. And so we're thinking about stuff, thus the intrusive thought. It's when the thoughts become repetitive and they become obsessive that they become really an issue. And with some people, intrusive thoughts become more the way of life versus what you're doing when you're dealing with a situation in that moment. And for some people, the intrusive thought can become so obsessive and so repetitive, and you can become so deeply entrenched into the thought and thought process, or that little block of thoughts that are tied to it, that it can take you right down into a rabbit hole where you are stuck in your own negative thinking. And kind of taking this to a slightly different place, when you're in that rabbit hole, when you are really trapped in that place, it many times causes you to dissociate. We've talked about being in the present moment on this show a number of times. And so it makes it so that you are totally not in the present moment. I'm sorry, but the monitor I'm looking at keeps freezing up, and I'm looking at my other monitor going, oh, well, that one's moving, so that's good. Anyway, so, but when you're I know what I was saying, but when you're in that rabbit hole, when you really can't get out of your own way, like you are there for the duration and you are not leaving that place, it leaves you in a very dissociated state. You are not anywhere near being in the present moment, but that emotional situation can open the door for having entities or entities attachments. When we talk about intrusive thoughts, we often talk about having negative intrusive thoughts, which I'm going to go into a little bit more definition on what those are, break them down. But recently, I had the experience that I had a lot of really great stuff going on and doing all this fun stuff. And I was really excited and I was thinking about it all the time. And I discovered that you can actually also have intrusive thoughts that are positive intrusive thoughts that are taking you out of the moment. So any thought that is taking you out of the here and now, that's taking you out of the flow, that's taking you out of alignment with source, I'm guessing could be considered an intrusive thought, especially if you're having a hard time shifting it. If you're having the thought and you can be like, oh, wait, come back, and you're back, that's great. But if you like that song in your head, if you keep going back to it, then it's an intrusive thought. So negative, mostly for most people, but they can be positive intrusive thoughts. I never would have thought that or even considered that, except I had a period of having very positive intrusive thoughts, which is kind of weird because you think, but they're positive thoughts. They're really good. But I found it to be very distracting, and I found it to be kind of annoying because I could tell that I wasn't in the moment and I was really out of the flow. So with that said, moving on. So one of the kinds of intrusive thoughts you can have is something called rumination. And rumination, when people ruminate, often they are trying to solve a problem in their mind. And as they're trying to solve a problem, they're hoping for a different result. Now, when you ruminate, you're usually ruminating about something that happened in the past. So you have an encounter with someone at work, and it leaves you feeling unsatisfactory. And so instead of doing something about it, you just constantly think about it and think about, well, I should have said this. Well, I should have done that. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? And that's where the thinking is. It's about something that's occurred that you can't get past. Sometimes people that are ruminators tend to not be able to vocalize what's going on, or they're unwilling to change the dynamic of what's happening. So let's say you're in a job that you hate and you find yourself or a relationship, oh God, or in a relationship that's really not working for you. And, there's some kind of a conflict that happens in the relationship. And, you just keep going over the conflict in your mind, and inside you're going, wow, this just isn't working for me. And then you're going on and on, but you won't end the relationship. You won't leave the job. You won't make a change so that you can get out of that cycle of rumination. Did that make sense? And if you guys have questions about this, please post the questions about this monologue in the comment box, and I'd be happy to come back. Another form of ruminate or intrusive thoughts or worry. So rumination is always about something that occurred in the past. Worry is always about the future. It is where you have the concept of what if in the forefront. And like rumination, worry can become obsessive. I mean, let's face it, we all worry about something. But when the worry becomes chronic, it can go from worry, which is, well, I wonder if I got a parking ticket or if I'm going to be late, to anxiety, which is a longer, more chronic form of worry, which can even go even further into a full-blown panic attack. So hopefully you can address the worry when it's still worry and not have it go into the full-blown panic attack. Now, with ruminators, there's something that's going on that they don't like, they're not happy about, but they're unwilling to do something about it. They're unwilling to change it. With worriers, it's like they tell themselves these big stories about what's going on. You're at work and your boss comes in, or you're going to have a meeting with your boss, and you spend the entire night worrying about, well, what is he going to say? Oh, well, he probably noticed that I didn't do this thing, and maybe they're going to fire me, or maybe this, or maybe that. And you go in and your boss gives you a raise. but it's the story, it's the narrative we give to something that we don't know what it is. It is a complete unknown to us. Many times people that worry are trying to solve a problem or come up with a resolution to a problem that can't be solved. I mean, the bottom line is it can't be solved because you don't have all the pieces, because the what if has not been filled in. And so it just leaves you hanging with that. And the last one I want to talk about is something, and this isn't technically identified as an intrusive thought, but it is what I call our inner critic. People call our inner critic. And our inner critic, okay, so we have all experienced our inner critic, so you just can't even lie to me that you haven't. Our inner critic is that voice inside of us that says, I'm too fat, I'm too lazy, I have bad hair, I'm bad at my job, I can't do this, I can't do that. But it's that voice inside that is always mean and brutal and will say some of the meanest things you'll ever hear about yourself that doesn't come out of the mouth of someone else, it comes out of your own mind. And some people, they have very active inner critics that kind of beat them up all the time. And it can create a very limiting experience for you because you believe what that voice says. Every time you walk by the mirror and you look and you go, oh my God, I have fat thighs. Even though you weigh 90 pounds, there's not necessarily truth. But one of the things about the inner critic, so, I hope that with this conversation, you'll start to raise your awareness to some of that dialogue going on inside. And especially with the inner critic, someone somewhere said those words to you that you decided were true about you, and you have held on to them and lived your life by those words. And so if you find that inner critic going crazy, maybe stop and try to identify, is it a parent? Is it a sibling, an ex-spouse, a teacher? Who put that belief in there? Whose voice is attached to it? Because many times the words that, all the time, the words that the inner critic speaks are not true. Like this. So I don't particularly have a green thumb. It's more brown, maybe black, not very good. And I own it. I don't have a very good green thumb, but my inner critic doesn't beat me up for it because I own that I don't have a very good green thumb. I mean, I can do a whole lot of other stuff. That's just not one thing, and I'm really not interested in. And so if someone says, wow, you can't grow a plant, and I'd be like, no, I can't. But when it's the inner critic, there's a piece of you that knows it's not true, like your soul knows it's not true. And so it experiences conflict, and it brings it up, and it brings it up. And when it brings it up, it gives you the opportunity to clear it. And so what do you do about this stuff? And we've talked about, a number of these things earlier in earlier podcasts. Bring out those mindfulness tools, work on your breathing, doing tapping. If you catch yourself ruminating or worrying, or your inner critic is going crazy, using one of those tools would be great to help. In my experience, depending on how long it's been going on in that round and how deep you're into it, you might have to use some other tools. If you're a worrier, if that tends to be your thing, something that tends to work well for people is to give yourself a worry date. So let's say it's 9 o'clock in the morning and you're all worried about something going on. Instead of worrying about it all day, tell yourself, well, you know what? I don't need to worry about it now. I can worry about it, at 7 o'clock after dinner. and I'll just have a worry date for 7 o'clock after dinner. My experience has been you have this worry date for 7 o'clock after dinner, but then you don't even keep the date because you're not worrying about it anymore. But you've broken the cycle of in the here and now. For the ruminators in the group, speak up for what you want. Ask your higher self, ask your inner self, what do I need to do to resolve this situation? And then do it. And I know that can be really hard, but it's one of the ways to get out of the rumination and have forward movement in your life. Worst case scenario, go clean your house, rake some leaves, do those things that go to the gym, work it off to burn off that energy and help you get back into the present moment, because those are the ways to stop the rumination or the intrusive thoughts from going on and on and on and on and on and on and on in your mind. All right. So that's our little talk for today. Let me do my little announcements, and we are going to open up the lines because there's already 15 comments. Sweet. I love you guys. So if you would like to schedule a private consultation, please go to my newly redesigned webpage, soulhealer.com. Drop me a note and we can set up a time. The webpage is loaded with articles and my books, and I would just love for you to stop by and say hi. Soulhealer.com. Like my page on Facebook, Dr. Rita Louise on Facebook. I want to find out if I can create a group and stream the live stream to the group. So that's kind of on my agenda coming up. And so I will keep you guys informed. And then you could just like the group, because I can't really share to Dr. Rita. Facebook is freaking weird. I'll just say that. Facebook, you're weird. You make me crazy. And if you're a YouTube kind of person, please subscribe to my channel, Just Energy Radio on YouTube. Like it, subscribe, set the notifications for when the shows come on. These shows are always public. And so if there's someone that you feel could benefit from coming here, they have a question, you think they would like hanging out, whatever, please share it with them. And because they're not going to get locked out. You don't need a password, obviously, to participate. Okay? All righty. So I am going to shift gears and open up the lines, and let's see what we got going on. All righty. So I'm going up to the top. I'm going to say hi to people, and then I'm going to scroll back through for questions. So as always, very early was Marco. Hey, Marco, I did say hi back, but I don't think you could see my comments. And Don and Dave, and exploring the Ka and the Ra. It's Ra to phonics. Ra Castaldo. I think I said that right, maybe. Please forgive me if I'm not. And Nina, I saw your post today. And Toomey, Toomey's a spammer. So here we're just going to say hi to Toomey really quick. Hi, Toomey, spammer. No, nobody wants to send you a message. Bye. And now I'm going to ignore you. And Veronica's here. And let's see. Sarah. Hey, Sarah. And Wendy's here. And Miss Amy. Miss Amy. Okay, I'm going back up to the top. I know that there was a question about some entities. And so, just for the people that aren't aware, so I stream to Facebook and YouTube. And the Facebook people cannot see the comments that the YouTube people put in. And the YouTube people can't see the comments that the Facebook people put in. And so that's why I kind of read all of the comments. I mean, unless they're from a spammer, then I'm trying to ignore them. Okay, so let's see. So Don wanted to get another reading, and so he did post again. And then Dave says, hey, Marco, Rita, this is CubeSat Dave Shock. Hey, CubeSat Dave Shock. Okay, so Don said, and I read this before, and that's why I knew that there was an entity issue, spirit problem. Okay, so Don, so his question is, I still have the spirit problem that we talked about earlier, but last night I got cut on my lower leg. And so for those of you that aren't here every week, a few weeks ago, Don came and brought this up, but it sounds like it's getting worse. All right, Don. Okay, so Don, I'm just going to make the comment. I feel like you're kind of angry, which I could totally understand, and kind of afraid. Um, okay, so I'm going to ask this as a question, but I kind of feel like there's somebody else in the house and not the spirit, that the spirit is more attached to, but it's coming after you because you are the most dominant energy in the house and kind of project energetically the most. So if you could respond to that piece, because then I want to look at this other person. Okay. So Dave says, man, but I'm not a man and I don't identify as one. Can I use a reading? Been a tough year. So Dave, if you could offer a more specific question than that, I would appreciate that. Don. Could you tell me anything on my first wife info? So I'm assuming she's dead, and I don't do dead people. But again, if you could ask a question like, what would you like to know about your first wife, hoping that she's not dead, then I'd be happy to answer. Dave says it's first time here. Hi, Dave. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. And Don says, P.S. I love watching you. Thank you, Don. All right. All right. So, Don, more specific information. Dave, more specific information. And you know what? I'm going to try like I'm going to take little notes so I don't have to scroll through this whole thing. Don, entity, Dave, something. Okay. So Nina says, hello, Rita. I lost some weight since I've talked to you last. I had some house guests. Mom is mad at me again. Work can be difficult and people think the building is haunted. Do you see any solutions? I miss your show because of work and I'm happy. Well, I miss seeing you here, Nina. So I'm just so glad to see you tonight. Okay. So the first thing that I would like to suggest is for you to do things to ground your space. Um, just kind of like off the top, would be to do some smudging of the area just to clear it out. Um, so I've talked about grounding here, and I'm going to kind of give a very generic grounding imagery, Nina, that you can do this both at home, but you can also do it at work, one for your building and then also for your little area, like your cubicle or your space. And that's just to imagine that in the center, let's say, of your building, there's a giant bathtub drain. And all of the walls can drain down, kind of like your shower, into this giant bathtub drain. And that bathtub drain can just let all of that negative, funky energy to go down to the center of the planet, just like your bathtub drain. And all you need to do is have that imagery. And, I like to imagine like there's actually kind of a little bit of water flowing down it a little bit to get things set up, or to imagine that the the energy that's in that space is turning into water and is draining down that bathtub drain. But that should help shift some of the energy, make it be a little bit lighter. Um, Interesting. I do think that there is something in that building. Um, and it's weird because it's not really taking on a humanoid form. It's kind of taking on like this little creature form. And I get the impression. So let me ask this. So is one of their complaints is that things keep ending up on the floor and things keep falling on the floor? But again, solution: ground the building, ground, around your desk, ground your house, giant bathtub drain, negative energy down the drain. All right. And again, follow-up question, just put it below, but I know you will. So Dave says, tough year. Hi, Veronica. Let's see. Dave, that's what I did. She was having numerous affairs and I knew it, but did nothing about it. She was addicted to amphetamines and it started during withdrawals. So Dave, I guess you were having a bunch of intrusive thoughts about your relationship situation. So has that been resolved or is that still going on now? And is that kind of what you would like the reading about? Kind of throwing out a lot here. All right, Dave says, I did leave for the better. Very happy now, but it bothers me what happened. I still think about it. All right. Dave says, I'd like to know what's in store for me now. I'm looking into Reiki. I know I have it in me and have been working on it. Okay, so Dave, I don't predict the future, okay? In like next Tuesday, this is going to happen. But let me just kind of take a look at your energy. So one of the things that you're showing me is that you've been doing a lot of transformative work on the inside, and I feel like you're this bubble that is waiting to pop open into this whole new level of energy, um, which is great. I mean, I feel like there is some doubt or hesitation about taking that next step or really owning it. And I'm going to say this, don't feel guilty about feeling good. I mean, sometimes we get into bad situations and the person that we're in the situation with isn't willing to work on themselves. And so all we can do is what is going to make us happy, instead of going around year after year feeling bad. I know a lot of couples who have been married for a very long time, and there's just a handful of them that actually seem happy. Many of them are like, well, but we've been together for 30 years and I'm not going to go anywhere. But they're miserable. And I can't imagine spending my whole life or a big chunk of my life being unhappy. And so I'm glad that you took that step, but don't feel guilty about it. You did what was important for you and the right thing for you. Okay? All right. So Sarah says, excuse me, what about in the case of negative energy attachment thought, if they feed off the words thought of inner critic? Oh, they totally do, Sarah. Ding, 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 ding. You totally hit on it. Many times those negative entities, see, that is my definition of a negative attached entity. Many times the entity that will attach to you already know what negative thoughts are the strongest for you in your inner critic. And so they like it when you are down in your rabbit hole and they're just sucking off of you and they're reminding you, you suck, and your mama hates you, and brr. Because the emotional energy that it generates from you, like that kind of emotional pain, is different from the emotional energy of paranoia, which is different from the emotional energy of a different kind of hurt or pain that the inner critic will bring up. You know, so if there's an entity issue, then it really is even more important to get that inner critic under control. All right, so Dave says, Marco, is Bill doing Family Feud night Saturday? Oh, I guess that was a personal comment. Oops. Veronica says, have you heard of some techniques for trauma anxiety? Do you recommend them? To me, it is really about working on being in the present moment. There are, okay, so, and I brought this up several times before, but I'll say it again because it's not released yet. You know, but I'm releasing a new book that's called Dang, It Was Me All Along, that really talks about changing our inner world. And so we can have trauma and we can have anxiety. And there are countless books written about addressing trauma and addressing anxiety, but they always are written like there's something wrong with you. And you need to fix what's wrong with you before you can have this happy place. And I don't believe that anymore. I think that you can let go of the trauma and let go of the anxiety by changing who you are fundamentally on the inside, you know, and really practicing being mindful and raising your awareness to, oh, my anxiety is being triggered. You know, okay, so why is my anxiety being triggered? Oh, because that's tied to this past trauma, and using that awareness to unwind what's going on inside. And you'll just have to get my book when it comes out, even though I'll probably talk about half of it on this show week to week. All right, so I said hi to Amy. Ooh. All right, so Dawn, I love relationship questions, you know, but when people sit there and ask about someone, kind of the way you phrase it, I was like, is she dead? Okay. So Dawn says, because he had the relationship question, I don't think she's dead. She has tried to contact me in the last 2 weeks. We go back from junior high to high school class of 70s. Okay. All right, Dawn. All right, so don't do it. How's that? Just don't do it. I feel like if you open the door to let her back in, that it's not going to be good. How's that? And I feel like it would just be easier to just not bring that back and rekindle that energy. I feel like for you, there was a lot of loss tied to it. And hope. And I feel like you would just be sadly disappointed. Those are the words that are coming up, sadly disappointed. So I would just leave it alone. Okay, so hey, Miss Debbie. Hey, Jeannie. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, of course, you can post them. All right, so Veronica put this, and I don't really understand it. The badass for smuggling is Tibetan purging incense. Oh, for smudging, smuggling, phonics, Tibetan purging incense. And see, Veronica, I really like Palo Pinto, but to me, okay, so let's talk smudging here for a minute. So, all right, so for people that are not familiar with smudging, smudging is a Native American, typically a Native American or tied to Native American ritual where they use sage or sweetgrass and burn it, and with the intention that the negative energy is going to rise and leave the space on the smoke. They might use palo pinto, but in any culture around the world, the use of some kind of an incense or grass, like a sweetgrass, has been used to cleanse and purge spaces and people. I mean, it's a very common cleansing tool. Personally, um, in my opinion, I mean, you can do it and you can get a certain amount of benefit, but to me, it really needs to be done with intention, with the intention of, as I'm doing it, it is collecting this and moving it out. And so when I'm working on cleaning out a space, what I prefer to do, because I like that whole like big giant drain in the middle of the room, is I will get a squirt bottle and maybe put some essential oil in it. Maybe I will put some crystals in it, you know, kind of whatever I'm feeling in the moment. And I will spray the room down. And I will literally start in one corner and kind of circle around my bathtub drain until I get to the center of the room and the center of that bathtub drain. And so for you guys that are the regulars, you know, there's that guy, Joe, the realtor, that I get on his case and give him a little pitch. He's a realtor, so he'll call me up and want to know about a property that's not moving, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of freak him out a lot. And so one of the things that I've recommended to him, because a lot of the times there's like leftover homeowner energy or homeowner remorse or whatever, is that he take his squirt bottle with orange oil, because the vibration of the orange oil is very uplifting, and you know, citrus is friendly and warm and bright. And in many instances, when he has gone and smudged with water, rinsed it out with his big bathtub drain, the houses have gone within a week, sometimes 24 hours. So it really does work, but it's about the intention. And to me, it's easier to visualize the intention with the water, you know, because I'm spraying it and I can imagine it dripping down the walls and into that giant drain versus the smoke. And I just don't really understand why, but it's about the intention. Okay, so Yvonne is here. Hey, Yvonne. All right, so she says, I've been doing some stand-up like you suggested. Yay! Do you see me getting offers soon? Okay, so this is going to be weird, Yvonne, but is there, I don't know if it's the event that you and I had talked about, or is there one that's coming up that is kind of a larger event that's not a paying gig, but that you would have to register for, like maybe some kind of a competition-y kind of thing? Like in the next couple of months, I'm just feeling like there's something bigger. You know, you've kind of worked out some of your bugs and there's something bigger. And I feel like that is kind of the launching point, if that makes sense. All right. So Dave is back and he says, I am told I have healing energy in me. Many have told me my sweetheart is a Reiki one. Can you tell if I have it, or is something holding me back having a time? Okay. I mean, Dave, I feel like you have healing energy. I just get the impression that that modality, Reiki in particular, is not really your thing. I'm just going to say it this way. I don't know that you like people all that well, or are all that interested in doing that kind of one-on-one work. I feel like that you're more of a group person and you're really good at creating a group dynamic, and how having people kind of be in harmony and in synchron, it's synchronous with each other. So I don't know if like for your work, if you tend to be like a team leader, and you get everybody like doing their stuff. And so I'm wondering, because Reiki is one form of healing, and there's a ton. If doing something like guided imagery, I'm going to throw out hypnotherapy, although hypnotherapy tends to be individual, but there's a lot of guided imagery in hypnotherapy. But something like guided imagery tends to work good or better in a group environment. If that might not be a better path for you to follow based on your personal energy. And Dave, I would love some feedback down there. Okay, and so Dawn says, oh, personal conversation, we'll just get past that. Dave said, thanks, you're right on. I need to open up and let it happen. Okay. And so Veronica says, love the essential oil spray too. Have you used it? Also used it on my laundry to get negative energy out. I haven't used it like in the, see, I'm infamous for like taking essential oil and mixing it in a spray bottle with water. You can get those ones at the supermarket that are little hairspray bottles, so I have different flavors of them. So I'll spray them around my house just to spray them around my house. I have one that's in my car. Okay, so when I had a little part-time job working at Starbucks, the district manager was there, and you weren't supposed to wear any perfume. Like no really jewelry, no perfume, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, are you wearing perfume? And I don't wear perfume. And if I wear anything, I'm wearing some kind of essential oil blend. But I didn't wear anything to that because I was there at 5:30 in the morning, and I was clean. That they were lucky enough that I was clean. However, my husband used to take these bottles of essential oil sprays and spray in the closets and spray the clothes down. And so I guess my clothes had patchouli smell. Oops. Anyway, but no, I think that's great. But you could also, again, do it in your closet and not like in the laundry part. Okay, so Yvonne said, when I was talking about some kind of a competition or whatever, that it does make sense. So yay. And so Dave says, I'm retired. I'm great with people. Everyone loves me. Oh, and then he says, interesting group work. There is many ways for healing energy. I like what you said. And Dave, that's what I'm feeling. I feel like for you, doing one-on-one work would be restricting, and I feel like for you, it really is more about doing that group work. So take a look around, and I'm going to throw this out. I know this is your first time here. Go online, look up different healing modalities, kind of investigate ones that look like they might be interesting to you, that you kind of resonate with, but you're not really sure, and bring them back to the show. And I will help you narrow it down, because it's very easy for me to go, okay, this modality and you, and this modality and you, like the Reiki, I think you would do great at Reiki, but I'm not feeling it for you at all. So go do some investigating and come back, and we'll have more of a discussion. Just remind me, because I only remember for like 2 minutes. Okay. Amy says, my son is en route to Bali. He had a panic attack about his decision to go. I'm shocked. Okay, so I don't mean to laugh, but I'm shocked. Any insights you can give about the cause of the trauma he holds? Will the trip to Bali and other places help him? Okay, so now I'm kind of going, okay, so with, all right, now I know which one. Okay, hold on. I mean, you got 3 sons, 4 sons. Okay, so but I think I've narrowed in on which one we're talking about. Um, so I feel like, if you were here for the beginning part, I was talking about that inner critic, and I feel like he has an inner critic that says, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, the decisions I make aren't correct enough. And so when he goes and asserts himself, and it's like, this is what I'm going to do, and it's going to be good. And then the adrenaline wears off, and, it's kind of like going from a little bit of a manic place to a little bit of a depression place. And I'm not saying that he's bipolar, but a little, we all have that. And that inner critic steps in, and I just hear his dad's voice all over it, all over it. So I'm not as much thinking that it's trauma in that sense, but more very limiting beliefs. um, I don't know if the trip is really going to help them. I mean, we can take our problems any place, and they are still our problems until we decide to go inside and change what's happening there. So hopefully he'll have that opportunity to do that. All right. So Sarah says, thank you so much for today and the previous advice you gave, advice for my little girl. Okay. Uh, All right. So Sarah says, can you please confirm that the perverted energy she was hearing? I can't really respond to that because I don't really know what you're talking about. So I can't really respond. And so Dave says, I live in Sedona, Arizona. Lots of opportunities here for healing work, and I will, Rita. Dave, I'm going to throw this thing out at you. When you do group work, it also opens it up to kind of taking it on the road, or doing live stuff, podcasty. I don't know. I'm feeling like, think a bigger picture. Think a bigger picture. Don't just think Sedona. I feel like there's part of you that wants to be big and wants to have big energy. So damn it, have big energy. Have a big dream. But I'm expecting you back. So Dom wants to know, why don't I wear perfumes? Because there are a lot of people that have allergies to perfumes. I know, especially, and there are some perfumes that I even have allergies to. And I don't know if that's a new thing or I just wasn't really exposed, but I have to tell you, when I was working at Starbucks, there would be people that would come in, and I was on the register a lot, a lot. And they would come in and order their drink, and sometimes I couldn't even like smell their perfume. And you think that I cough on this show? Oh my God. I would be at the register and I'm trying to take their order and I'm coughing and I'm coughing and I'm coughing. And next thing I know, I feel like I'm like coughing up a lung. And that's when I would just like point to someone and point at the register and go in the back to just get away from them and their perfume. So what's interesting is that essential oils, I mean, there's some wonderful, beautiful smelling blends, but they don't tend to trigger allergies as much. I know I'm allergic to lavender, so if you put lavender oil on me, I'll have a reaction, but not nearly as much as to a perfume. So That's why no perfume, because I don't want to be offensive to other people, but I do want to smell nice. Okay, so Dave is taking off and he says, I will, and I'll be back. Off to dinner. Okay, Dave, have a good dinner. Okay, so everybody, these are great questions. We got 10 more minutes. Well, I'll say 8 more minutes. And so if you're hiding out in the back over there and haven't asked any questions, please do ask a question. Again, we have about 8 minutes. Oh, well, you're welcome, Don. About the essential oils. Okay. And then Cindy says, I'm hiding out. And I'm sure Gabby is sleeping. Snoozey puppy. So Cindy, do you have any questions? I was kind of like looking at work. I get the impression that you've kind of calmed down since when I talked to you earlier. So that's a good thing. Um, that's a really good thing. Um, all right. So I'm going to ask one more time if anybody has any questions, because if not, yeah, no kidding. If not, I am going to call it an evening. Okay, time's up, pencils down, everybody. All right, so I'm gonna call it because I don't want to sit here and just stare at myself. Anyway, so if you would, so now you all come. All right, hang on. Veronica says, I have a question. It's like, okay, Veronica, we'll post it. And Cindy says, we all love you. Thank you, Cindy. We love you too. All right, Veronica, hurry up. Hurry. Okay, time's up, Veronica. I'm going. Come back next week. Oh, wait, you will. Okay, so if you would like to schedule a private consultation with me, Dr. Rita Louise, go to my webpage, my newly redesigned contemporary webpage at soulhealer.com. I mean, worst case scenario, go by, check it out, read an article or two, drop me a line. That would be great. If you're a Facebook person, please like my Facebook page, Dr. Rita Louise on Facebook. It'll keep you informed of shows that are coming up. And again, I mentioned this earlier, I'm looking at doing a Facebook group because apparently you cannot stream to a like page. You can only, but I think you can stream to a group. I sure as hell can't share to a like page. Like I can't share, Rita Louise cannot share posts to Dr. Rita Louise, which is the stupidest thing. So I'm looking at a way to make it be more interactive for me so I can interact with you guys more. Again, if you go on YouTube, I'm on Just Energy Radio on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, ask for the notification, drop me a note, give me a thumbs up on the lives. I would just really, really, really appreciate that. So I can see that there are 4 comments, but you guys are too late. All right, should I be mean? All right, I'm going to look real quick. Okay, no more questions. Good. So again, before I go, just a reminder, if you know anybody that could use my insights and guidance, please direct them to the show. If you think they could use to get a psychic reading, but they're not quite sure, I think this is a good introductory way to get to know me, to see if I'm the person you want to work with, because I am pretty fun and cool and know way too much for my own good. Anyway, so till next week, I will see you next week at the same time. Bring your questions. You guys are great, and have a wonderful weekend. Oh, and if you are in Dallas, I will be at the We Are Not Alone conference in Grapevine this weekend. The door price is $20. All right, I'll be there on Saturday. We're going to see about Sunday. I'm speaking on Saturday, so stop by. And if you are in the East Texas area or you want to go do something fun in spooky Jefferson, Texas, the History, Haunts, and Legends Conference, I think, is November. Hang on a second. It is Saturday, November 4th in Jefferson, Texas, which is in East Texas. It's a really fun event. I'll be there. There's a bunch of really good people going to be speaking. And I hope you come and you can get a reading from me. Ooh, well, even better. All right, guys. I'll see you next week. And till then, be blessed. No, wrong one. Remove.